My name is Macartney. I live at Embercombe in the southwest of the UK. From the ages, maybe the earliest age really, I felt the call of our Mother Earth, and of all things I loved most really was to be outside in nature, and of course my family and friends. Later on, I felt as if I'd been born in the wrong time, out of time in fact, and that there was no place for me, no place for all the things that I loved and felt kinship with, were then called childish. And so I suppose I moved through my teens and very early adulthood, wondering where and how I could find a home where I could bring the things that I somehow pray to or live with or serve, those things that I love most. And that came really through the lens of the whole flower power movement, when suddenly indigenous people, particularly Native Americans at that time, came into the frame. And the shock and the wonder and excitement that myself and some friends felt, that there were still traditions, there were still people, there were medicine people still alive, still practicing their ceremonies, and the possibility that we could connect with them and find a gateway through to the world that I'd sensed when I was earlier, but felt I could be no part of. So many things have happened, countless episodes, eras, stories, all sorts of things have happened. But the one thing that all of those people, Maori, Aboriginal, Australian, Native American, others, said to me at some point or other was, you know, Mac, it's wonderful, but these are not your ceremonies. You are English. I would bleat rather pathetically, well, not really. My father's from Northern Ireland, and they would laugh in my face and deliberately call me English because they knew it upset me a bit. Say, English, you have to return to your land. You have to look anew at your woods and your forests, your streams, your coastline, your mountains, and ask yourself, does not the oak tree or the ash tree or the grasses that grow on your land, the wildflowers of your land, do not the badgers and the foxes and the deer and the stoat and all other beings, do they not wish and long for ceremonies that would bring them in as well? Do they not long to sit within the council circle and be loved, appreciated, sang to, danced to? You have to go back. You have to take everything that we've assisted you with, supported you with, and begin to find your own dances, one dance at a time, maybe one step at a time, one song at a time, one ceremony at a time, and gradually, including others who come and join with you alongside, create the beginning of a renewal. For this land was once known to be sacred. This land held huge mystery and awe, wonder from many of the tribal peoples long time ago, coming to this land, fountain of knowledge, prayer, and mystery. So it's not that this land should be any better than any other land. All land on our earth has its own medicine, its own beauty, and the peoples of those lands, particularly here in Britain, for the large part look out to all other places except to what is under their feet and in front of their eyes. So when that day comes, and we go to our forests and our mountains to pray, when that day comes that we realize our gardens, our shrines, when that day comes when we take our newborn babies and we hold them up to the sky And we take them and touch them to the earth. And we touch them with the breath of our love and the waters as well of our land. And say, welcome to the family of all life. And now we will begin our ceremony of the welcoming of this new life to this land. When this day comes, maybe we will have found our way home. What is the cacao of this land? And deep inside this beautifully created, deep contemplation by the ceremony holder, I met the spirit of cacao. And she was greens and browns and swirling and moving and gorgeous and voluptuous and delicious. And she danced and moved and swirled, appeared and disappeared. And as I asked this question in this place, she came moving towards me, like extraordinary sense of her beauty and generosity. And then her arm came out outstretched, and in the middle was something which landed into my hands. And it was Bramble. Now I am a gardener, and I have a lot of occasions battled with Bramble. Bramble invading from the sun. Leave my garden alone, Bramble is there. I'm aware of how it has pricked and scratched me and all these things. But as I begin to feel into Bramble, I notice this extraordinary array of flowers that it creates in the early spring, such a gift to all those that pollinate and ultimately the fruits that they yield. I see the berries that are created, these extraordinary, wonderful multitudes of these black, juicy berries, if you choose, of course, not to pick them too soon, but to just wait a little bit till they are their very best. So we have done that. I have done that a few days before I came here and gathered lots of blackberries, the very best. We put them in a little apple press and we squeeze them. And we have this black juice that tastes sweet and wild. I've never met anyone who's created a ceremony yet around Bramble and the blackberries. I've never met anyone yet who's created ceremony, and perhaps there are such people, but I haven't met them. Ceremony around this extraordinary gift that is made by the oak trees of our acorns, when we then take out the tannins, grind down to flour, because this was the food that kept the people alive during famines. I haven't found the ceremonies yet where we take the birch trees and we tap the birch juice that comes in the spring, this beautiful, wonderful, healing liquid. So my feeling, I suppose, that I'm strongly advocating is, let us be filled with appreciation to the indigenous people who have given us so much, but not then stop there and only participate, and certainly not somehow just take their ceremonies, but rather take everything we've received from that extraordinary generosity and then take the steps to be in conversation with our land, and in that way create our own, always expressing gratitude and appreciation to the people who have hung on for so long, and in spite of everything that's been heaped upon them, their people are even now sharing with us the pathway to the gates that will help us find our way again. Long time ago, a teacher sat in front of me and said, "Mac, the earth is alive." And I nodded my head and said, "Yes, I know." And rather shocked, really, he shouted back at me, "No, you don't understand. The earth is alive." And taken aback, because I I thought I'd responded appropriately, and I did actually think the earth was alive, but then he's screaming at me, "The earth is alive! You understand what that means? She is alive!" And I remembered a dream I had as a child, perhaps common to many children, falling down some kind of well or something, and then I hit some kind of platform, and a flood of relief goes through me. I'm okay. Then it collapses under my feet, and I'm falling again. And I go down, 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 and then I land on a platform. Each time I think I know the depth of this well, and then I'm falling again. It's been like that with the earth is alive. I've had senses of realization. Yes, now I know the earth is alive. And then suddenly the ground has gone from under my feet, and suddenly I'm falling. And then I say, now I know that the earth is alive. Well, if the earth is alive, then everything is speaking to everything. Everything has potency. Everything has the capacity to heal. Everything is imbued with the very essence of life. There is no separation. Everything has significance. Everything is somehow part of everything else. And I think that's another one of these layers. When we drop into understanding, we think we understand, then the ground goes and we drop into deeper understanding, and then we drop into deeper understanding. And I have no idea, maybe there is no end to this process. But I know that when I begin to move in a world where I understand that I am being spoken to, when I understand that the deeper my commitment goes to the love of this earth, the more profoundly, the more frequently, the more wholly she will speak to me. And then I know more fully who I am and what it is that I'm meant to do. Our world is full of noise. Maybe, and sometimes in Earth's history, it has also still been full of noise, but full of the noise of wind, of the noise of birdsong, of the noise of all kinds of life moving and existing and having its way. Well, we have this challenge and must always also consider it opportunity of this time, when the noise of all kinds of things which distract us from seeing the beauty of this world assaults us, really. And I don't think that it's particularly helpful if we just complain or endlessly excuse ourselves because of this noise, all this distraction, that we can't find our way properly. But it does ask us, really, what do you need to do? How do you need to adjust your life to find the way in which you can find the quietness and the peace and those moments when you can tune in and feel deeply into whatever it is that restores you most? So for me, I lived in a big city for maybe 15 years. I'd come from a little cottage overlooking a beach on the Isle of Anglesey in North Wales. And I was the only one usually that used to ever be down on that beach. And I loved it. And then I moved to North London. I had to move to North London if I wanted to make some things happen. And all around me is just noise. All around me is big city. So then I found my way to a narrowboat in a little part of London where I can still have a fire, where I can still have some nature around me. And at that time in my life, it's enough. But then ultimately, I need more. So I move to another part of our country. And there I'm able to find the quiet that I need to really dream into the work that I'm trying to bring forward. But I still enjoy, and I will never say I don't, I still enjoy going to London and cities like it. So I'll visit them, and I will take from them, and I will learn from them, but then I go back. I think we are creatures that have immense breadth in all kinds of ways. The capacity to be cruel beyond belief, the capacity to love beyond belief, the tenderness of which we are capable, the generosity of which we are capable, the sweetness of which we are capable, also the horror. I think it's the same with, we make a lot of noise, and we can create a lot of noise, and we can be very, very soft, very subtle, very quiet. We have minds capable of extraordinary things. We have bodies that have enabled our whole evolutionary journey in all kinds of extraordinary ways. But how do you dance with power? How do you dance with the four powers of the human self, of the mind, of the body, emotion, and spirit? How do you hold responsibility for all of that?
Yes.
And understand that while speaking is sometimes necessary, listening is also hugely important. And were we to measure the two, perhaps we need an awful lot more listening and a little bit less speaking. Somebody asked last night, they said, how will we bring the wider population, all those who've never heard of medicine, and even if they did, medicine festival and gatherings like it would never come. How will we bring the largest majority of people to their feet, beginning to see life anew, beginning to see their place in the world in a different, more medicine-infused way? And I answered saying, I think it's an unanswered question, and I don't have the answer to this one. But what I do know is that we cannot and must not, I feel, think only in terms of like-minded people. We have to seek the company also of unlike-minded people. And when we seek that company, we don't seek to proselytize. We don't seek to advise. We don't seek to tell them how they should be or anything like that. We listen. We participate. We are curious. We engage. Because what we call ordinary people have all kinds of extraordinary things to offer as well. As well, I know, having moved to a new home, my wife really very ill last year. And then these people we'd never met before, people we would call ordinary people, left cooked foods and meals on our doorstep, brought us gifts, made every effort they could to make sure we were okay, and knew that there was a wider outer ring taking care of us. The same happened in a supermarket I visited some years ago with my little boy. And there we've met a woman at the checkout who, as she checked our food and scanned the barcodes, I suddenly thought, what is it that we're experiencing right now? And I thought, we are being blessed by this woman who no one would ever notice in any kind of crowd. This woman who would have described herself, I think, as an ordinary person, showered us with generosity, with laughter, with the bigness of her heart. And when my little boy and I left, we felt blessed. And when we walked some meters away and looked back, there she was doing the same thing to the next people. So we must be bridge builders. building bridges out into all parts and not seeking only the safety and the comfort of mixing with people who we would deem to be like us. When I was about 15 years old, which is a multiple of decades ago, in the very, very early 60s, I used to sit by this little cherry tree. I loved this little cherry tree. And it was some 100 meters away from on the very edge of the school fields. And I'd go there to be on my own. I'd write poetry. I'd write about how I felt. That little cherry tree was very, very special to me. And one of the books I took with me was a book which D.H. Lawrence had written. And I read these words, and these words have been with me ever since. I am part of the sun, as my eye is part of me. That I am part of the earth, my feet know perfectly. My blood is a part of the sea, and my breath is a part of the wind. Medicine is the very essence of life. Medicine is the flame at the center of the fire. Medicine is the spirit that moves in all things. And medicine has had many, many names attached to it. It is also the snarl of the badger cornered in its set. It's also the scream of the vixen in the forest. It is the cries and the agony of the birth of everything. It is the sweetness of falling to sleep. It is everything. Medicine, I think, is the whole enclosure and everything within. It is spirit, it is soul, it is the beating heart of this universe and maybe many far, far beyond. Medicine is the power that brought us into life, will take us from life, and is the essence of every tiny living thing. There's almost nothing I can think of that isn't medicine.